You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
We are NerdLanta.
You are now listening to the NerdLanta Podcast. Episodes are available on all podcast apps and on the ESO Network. Please visit us online at nerdlanta.com for more info.
Well, hello everyone from NerdLanta. Welcome. Welcome, listeners.
We're getting down and nerdy in the ATL.
Yes, we are. I'm Matthew English. With me, as always, is Julie Marateck.
Hello,
Julie.
Matthew.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I am enjoying another week in quasi quarantine. Not full quarantine, but quasi quarantine.
I feel you. Yeah, I'm starting to get out. But, you know, it's very much like I heard an NPR social psychologist on NPR talking about like quarantine pods and how like you have to have people like that you can trust that are like quarantining at your same level. Like I'm not going to be hanging out with anyone who's going to bars, kissing strangers, swapping spit, catching Miss Rona right now. So I'm going out with people, like I'm seeing people that I trust, but even still like hung out with my best friend who I've known for 15 years. And we both wore masks almost the entire time. Yeah. We took them off to sip our own coffee and then we put them back on.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend recently, and he was like talking about how this is the year where you're not going to make any new friends. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, that's totally true. Like you're only going to hang out with like not only your friends, but like the creme de la creme, like your friends that you really, really want to see and make the effort for. But you're not going to be out there making new friends this year.
Yeah, no, this is the year for deepening existing friendships. Not new friends. No. How am I going to meet someone?
Yeah, you can't.
I don't.
I mean, maybe you can on Grindr, but.
Oh, you know, I'm out there just meeting all the dudes.
Just swapping all that spit you're talking about.
So many dirty jokes I want to tell right now. My brain I have to do a hard reset right now because so many came to my mind all at once. You've overloaded me. Okay.
I could go in so many different directions.
Do I have time for
Yes,
one?
of course. There's always time for one. I mean, I already have, even you saying overload, I go in so many different directions.
Oh God, there it is. There's so many. I can't.
All right,
I can't,
one dirty joke.
Not for our kind. No, I can't do that to our kind. They don't know me.
They do know you.
They don't know what I'm like. These are all new friends. That's all. You know, the only new friends I've made are my drive-through customers at Starbucks. Those are my new friends. Because I'm getting very invested into the lives of the people I see every day through the drive-through. And I'm getting to know them like 30 seconds at a time, which is a very fascinating way to get to know
it's kind of like speed dating.
It is. Every day. Like I've got so many regulars that come by like, you know, once a day, every day, you know, like after lunch on their way back to the office or whatever, you know, and they come to get coffee for that afternoon drag. And I come in to ask them like one question a day. I'm like, oh, what do you do for work? You know, where are you from? Slowly but surely I'm weaseling my way into these people's lives. Hopefully not setting expectations to hang out with them all after COVID's over because that's how many friends I've made. I don't have time to hang out with them all. These very superficial friendships I've made. I had someone tell me like, of course the customers are nice to you. It's like a Pavlov experiment where it's like you give them the caffeine that makes them feel good. So they're nice.
It's so true. I mean, yeah, but it's all about making connections with people. And I feel like right now, even if we're not having long connections with new people, at least we're still you're still finding ways to connect with folks. Even that 30-second drive-through, like that's still a moment to connect with somebody and make their day, especially when, you know, times are tough right now.
Yeah. And it's so many people like aren't connecting anywhere else. Like this is their only face-to-face interaction. Like people who are quarantining alone, people who live alone, like people are sharing like very personal things with me very fast in our new friendships. And it's like a customer just told me that she's been talking to this guy that she met online and she just found out that he's like married, has a baby. I'm like, oh no. Like But it didn't seem like the kind of stuff you just share with a stranger. So I don't know. I'm very honored that she.
Yeah. Well, you also have that personality, I think, where people are just sort of drawn to you and they want to like open up to you, and it makes sense. I am excited about this is our first kind of minisode episode where we're trying something new. Where obviously usually we have a guest that we interview, but we're going to be doing shorter, more pop culture. I was trying to say pop culturally, but I don't think that's a word, but pop culture-esque episodes. So tonight's our first one. We're still going to kick it off with nerd news.
Because we love that nerd news. We love it. We're glad that Chris feels like you and I are enough, that we don't need a third person here.
we don't need a third.
Oh, well, I'll kick it off with the nerd news. Chris, can we get the nerd news theme?
Nerd news, nerd news, it's nerd news time. Excellent.
Oh, thank you again to Jake Cook from Seal Pup for that wonderful theme. I love it.
I love it too. Super fun. Smile. I know you have a longer segment of nerd news tonight, but I did want to give a really, really quick shout out to my new Simpsons designed Van shoes.
I saw those on social media and they're adorable.
I know. I am so excited about my new shoes. I'm a big sneaker lover, and
you are.
I'm a total sneakerhead, a hat head, a sneakerhead. Anything that makes me look like a 12-year-old boy, I am totally into. And Vans came out with a line of sneakers, all with really cool Simpsons designs, and so I ordered 2 pair. I ordered a custom pair, which have not arrived yet. And then I ordered another pair. And if you go on my Instagram, actually it'll be gone because it's Instagram story and it'll be gone in 24 hours. But I got a pair of high-rise kicks that have one side has the Simpsons on there, the family as they are animated now. And then the other side of my shoe has the old school animation of the Simpsons when they first started. It's so cool. I love it. So I don't have nerd news, but I really just want to give a shout out to my new shoes.
I love that. No, I was never like a big Simpsons fan, but I definitely appreciate your new shoes. I thought they were adorable when I saw them on the socials. So
I'm excited.
Thank you for sharing that with me. Oh my gosh. Okay, so nerd news time. So I know you're not a Star Trek fan, but we've got to talk about this because I don't know if you knew, but there were at one point 3 Star Trek films in the pipeline. Okay, so we've got one kind of a mystery one that's going to reunite the cast of the J.J. Abrams reboot. We're talking Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana. I love them all. I loved that cast. I thought they, Carl Urban, as Bones. He was amazing. I just loved everything about this refresh of the franchise that J.J. Abrams did. And I've gushed about it enough on this podcast. I think everyone knows. I tell that same anecdote every time about J.J. Abrams using like old school visual effects to try and trying to circumvent like green screens and CGI, like using just like really old Hollywood tricks. That's the magic of filmmaking. I mean, it's why I love J.J. Abrams so much. It's just he just makes filmmaking cool again, for people who love old school film. There was also an R-rated Star Trek movie in the pipeline to be directed by Quentin Tarantino. Really? I love Quentin Tarantino.
I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I know. It's an R-rated, which is like. How many F-bombs? I don't know. I don't know anything else about it. I just heard just the rumblings that Quentin Tarantino has signed on to do it. But the sad news now, the 3rd Star Trek film seems to have been cut. It's being reported. I found it on geektyrant.com. They are directed by Noah Hawley, I believe is how you say it, who he did the Fargo series for FX. He's directed, written, produced that, as well as Legion on FX, which is the X-Men spin-off series that has since ended, but I watched the first season. It was wonderful. The project just hasn't made the cut, and they're putting it on hold indefinitely. So makes me sad because he very interesting a man. It's just the way his mind works. I'm very fascinated by him, Noah Hawley. So I know you're not going to have a comment on this because you are not a Star
I'm
Trek
not.
fan.
And it's not. It's probably like you and I've had a couple discussions about Jurassic Park. Like you've never seen Jurassic Park, which for me is just blasphemy. Like I can't imagine living my life not having watched Jurassic Park. And people feel that way about me with Star Trek. Like I'm a Star Wars fan. Like I love sci-fi. I don't know why I never got into Star Trek. I don't know if it just didn't seem interesting to me, but I feel like enough people like it that maybe, I should give it a shot.
Is it the split infinitive in the intro that you hate? To boldly go?
It's
is that why you're not supposed to split an infinitive? And they put that adverb right in the middle.
I don't know. Do they beam up places, or is that just Spaceballs?
They do beam up. No, that
my
is,
only reference
that
is Spaceballs.
True. Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah,
that's
a big Star Wars and Spaceballs fan. I just need to get. Oh my god, Spaceballs is amazing. We should do a Minisode mini. I keep saying Minisode. Minisode, like I'm trying to say Minnesota. Like a Minnesota. We should do a Minnesota episode about Spaceballs. But I'm excited for you, and I do feel like maybe this new generation of Star Trek could definitely pique my interest.
You definitely need to like go back and watch them. And what's fun about the J.J. Abrams reboot is they totally pulled alternate universe plot. So it right in the first 5 minutes of the film, there's a black hole that kind of relocates people through time and sets apart. So it's the Captain Kirk from the original series. It's Captain Kirk, Spock, Uhura, Bones, Scotty. It's the people that we love from the original series, the William Shatner. And they replace them in a new timeline, which is how they get away with, it's like for all the, any nerddom, as we know, the fans are diehard about staying true to the story. Is this canon? It's like that kind of. Mm-hmm. So J.J. Abrams decides to, just go ahead, throw in a black hole, suck people through time, new timeline. I don't have to obey canon anymore. And they kind of directly address that by having Leonard Nimoy play. He gets sucked through the timeline, so there's two Spocks, and he kind of addresses some of the inconsistencies directly, through dialogue. He's like, wait, hold up, this isn't the way it is. It's like he addresses the fact that the timeline's been altered. And
so you have like Leonard Nimoy Spock, and then you have Zachary Quinto Spock. That's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit of a spoiler. I'm sorry, but you do need to watch it, and it's been out for like 10 years. So 11, I think it came out in 2009.
I mean, Star Trek itself has been around for what, like 40 years?
No, longer than that, Julie. Right? It's got to be. Hold on. I'm going to say 1965. I want to say. Oh no, 60s. Oh, first episode date 1966. I just Googled it. Thanks, computers. So we got we've got lots of canon to disobey, and J.J. Abrams is like, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna make it legit.
That's cool. That is 54 years that it's been
54 years
around.
Yes,
that's pretty. I put out my calculator. I say I pulled like I carry a calculator. I did the calculator on my computer. I put out my pocket protector and my calculator.
But you do need to catch up on like some of Star Trek. That way, whenever this Quentin Tarantino Who's What's It comes out, we're going together. Okay. Chris is coming too.
So you should. I think I also feel overwhelmed, and I don't know where to start with Star Trek because it's been around for 55 years.
That's the nice thing, is that you can kind of jump in wherever, and then just kind of, you can kind of context clues figure it out, right? Like there's you just have to get the history of it isn't that important, other than like you just need to know like the at some point Earth discovers like the ability to travel across space faster than light, and so once the humans do this, they start discovering that like there's millions of other intelligent life forms out there, so they decide to create a federation of planets, kind of like a United Nations for the universe, essentially. And there's the Klingons are kind of on the flip side of that. They don't like the Federation. So you've got the Federation planets versus the Klingons. And that's basically it. There's some other, there's different alien races that come up again and again, like the Romulans, or, kind of like regular enemies like the Borg. But you can just figure those out as you go along. Like you find out that like, oh, they've been in the series for 20 years. Like, and I just am now learning about them, but that's fine. That's fine. You don't need to be like in the weeds with it to enjoy it, especially the J.J. Abrams reboot. Like you could just honestly pick it up, watch it. I think you're going to love it. Cause it's got Chris Pine. How can you not love Chris Pine?
Yeah. And Zachary Quinto, who I used to watch in Heroes, and I love him.
He is adorable. Oh, yeah, he was in that, wasn't? And Zoe Saldana. Oh, my God. She is beyond beautiful. I love her so much. Carl Urban, who is an Australian actor, I want to say. He's in The Boys, which is one of producer Chris's favorite shows.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, and he plays, him doing an American accent is so funny. I think back to an Amy Poehler joke about how, like, she did an imitation of British actors doing American accents. And it's just like really pronouncing your R's, because so many different dialects of English are non-rhotic. So when they start using the R's that Americans use, they really emphasize them. Really into it. She's like, they all sound like pirates.
It's really funny.
All the R's.
We'll have to do. I feel like we could do a whole episode on just Star Trek.
Oh my gosh, I would be down. There's probably an ESO show. There's so many great podcasts on the ESO network. There's got to be someone who's dedicated a whole podcast to Star Trek. Let's go be guests on their show.
Yeah.
And let's go do that. Let's
go hijack their show.
Cross promotion.
Well, you know what I'll do is I'll have to watch the reboot, and then we'll do a follow-up minisode where I can talk about, like, as a first timer. We should do that. I'll watch Star Trek for the first time, and you watch Jurassic Park for the first time, and we'll talk about our experiences. Oh, yeah, let's get that written down. We've struggled with like bouncing ideas back and forth on like what to do for these mini episodes or these minisodes. Or minisodes. But that's a fun one. Like, let's fill a gap in our nerd knowledge, and then that'd be fun. Because there's a lot of things I'm slow on, like Jurassic. Yeah, and like I've never seen Star Trek, and I feel like if we're gonna really own this geekdom, we need to like explore new levels of geek. We need to take like the top line items. It's like, at least we've both seen Star Trek. Am I right? Like. Or, I mean, sorry, Star Wars. We've both seen Star Wars. You just can't imagine a world where I haven't seen Star Trek, so you can't even talk about it. I can't. It was so important to my childhood because, like, my dad and I bonded over it, so it's like really emotional for me that you haven't seen it. Because we watched Next Generation with Patrick Stewart, so that's the Star Trek from my childhood. So was Patrick Stewart not in the original? He was in the Next Generation. He was in the Next Generation, which, follows a different crew, a different ship even. Right? It's a different ship. It's a totally different ship. Now I got to Google it. What about George Takei? Is he Next Generation or is he OG? No, he's original. He's Captain Sulu. So he gets replaced by... What is that actor's name in the J.J. Abrams? Usually when I am struggling for something, Chris chats it to me. Hold on, but I also still have Google here. Oh my God, I love him so much, and he does such a great job. He's so adorable. John Cho. That is it. He's amazing. Yeah, he takes over for George Takei. As
Hikaru Sulu, which is just so much fun. Oh, and Anton Yelchin's in it too as Pavlo Chekhov.
And Chris Hemsworth.
And then he died. That was so sad. Oh yeah, and Chris Hemsworth makes a cameo. That's pretty fun. That's a fun one. You've got the cast list.
I do, yeah. Now I'm getting into it. Eric Bana.
Oh, and Winona Ryder. That was like the first time I had seen her since she had shoplifted and got kicked out of Hollywood.
Yeah, I remember Old School.
And she like showed up in the Star Trek movie. It's like, is that Winona Ryder? But now everyone knows her from Stranger
I know.
Things,
She's definitely had a major comeback. Like my childhood Winona Ryder is so different than today's Winona Ryder.
Ooh, speaking of people with comebacks, my dad was watching Brave New World on NBC, their new show on Peacock. It's an original to Peacock, Brave New World, based on the novel. And you know who's in it? Demi Moore.
Oh my God.
When's the last time you saw her?
I haven't seen Demi Moore in since I haven't seen her in anything.
Since that terrible sequel to the Charlie's Angels movie. That's the last time you saw her.
Remember when she was married to Ashton Kutcher? It seems like so long ago.
Oh. And then she went crazy. Oh, Jen Kirkman has a great joke about that. If you like Jen Kirkman, I love her stand up. She's got a great joke about like her going off the rails. She talks about like that's what happens when old ladies date young men. Like you lose your mind trying to like keep up with them. Because yeah, she did go a little crazy for a minute, but now she's back and she was in Brave New World. And like I saw a couple. I was my dad was watching it, so I like stopped in, like took a peek, and that woman can act, and she's still as beautiful as she was when she shaved all of her hair off her head.
Yeah, she is beautiful. I mean, she's so beautiful. There's a lot of actresses that I feel like are having a little bit of like Renee Zellweger. I've seen her in a couple things recently.
I still have not seen the Judy Garland movie.
I haven't seen that, but I watched her in it's called If Then on Netflix. I think it was Netflix, and she's in that. She's like, she's still her sultry self, but she's older, but she still has it. So I don't know. It's fun to kind of see some actresses sort of coming back, but it's also really weird too when these actresses are like, we're just a little bit older than me or my age, and now they're playing like moms. You know what I mean? Like Winona Ryder as a mom of like a teenage boy. Like that's just so crazy to me. Like Winona Ryder to me is always going to be, 15 years old and like wearing all black.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Okay, we've run so over and we've totally derailed from the conversation. We're going to take a quick break for promos, and then we'll be back with the topic of our Minisode.
Hey everyone, this is Carrie the Metal Geek, and I would like to invite you to hang out with myself and my fellow metal geeks as we have all kinds of discussions about heavy metal, films and TV shows, video games, theme parks, comic books, and whatever else is tickling our geeks. Please visit our website at metalgeekspodcast.com and follow us on all the social medias, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Metal Geeks. We are also proud members of ESO Network, so you can check everything out at esonetwork.com. Keep it metal, keep it geeky, stay safe, and see you on the next episode.
I'm Brittany Vitrino.
And I'm Martha Bartlett. We've been nerds since day one, and we love to talk.
And now we're your hosts of But First, Let's Talk Nerdy.
Come listen if you like anything from comics, anime, video games, sci-fi, and even history.
Just sit back, relax, even join us with a drink in hand, because we'll have one in ours too, and come talk nerdy with us every Tuesday.
We are now a proud member of the ESO Network, and you can download wherever you like to listen.
See you next Tuesday.
You are now listening to the NerdLanta Podcast. Please visit us online at NerdLanta.com for all episodes.
We are NerdLanta.
Welcome back to our Minisode. Today's topic is going to be, who are you going to call, Matthew?
Ghostbusters!
Yeah, you are. So we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into some of our favorite childhood movies from the 80s and 90s. And today we're going to talk about one of our favorite childhood films, Ghostbusters, which is a fun tie-in because last week we actually spoke with, I would call her a modern day Ghostbuster. Heather Dobson.
Oh, she was. I just listened back to that episode today.
I haven't listened to it,
and I was like, she was
so nice. Well, we commented on the podcast how nice you and I were not nice, but she was a very sweet person. Yeah, we're trash, but she was so nice, and so approachable, and I love talking to her about the ghost topic where she does ghost sightings, and so that inspired us. Yeah. So our producer Chris is also joining us for the minisodes because he's also a big Ghostbusters fan. Hey, Chris, what's up?
Oh, not a whole lot. Yeah, I'm definitely a huge fan of Ghostbusters, and it was great having Heather Dobson on the show last week, paranormal investigator. I actually sent her an email today just to follow up and thank her once again for being on the podcast and to let her know that the episode is available right now. And also I sent her a copy of that song that Jake Cook recorded, the ghost song that he just randomly recorded for the interview. I figured, we got to use it. So I sent her a copy of that so maybe she can, put that as her ringtone or something. I don't know, just to have it. But yeah, I'm excited for this segment. This was your idea, Julie, to do a flashback to the 80s and 90s through movie reviews. And I figured, maybe we could talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is the new movie coming out on March 5th of 2021. So, it's a bit of ways, but it's not that long. I think it'll go by pretty quick. So I figured let's talk about Ghostbusters and how much we loved it and let you guys kind of kick that off.
Do you both remember your first time seeing Ghostbusters?
Yeah, I do.
Matthew, have you seen Ghostbusters?
I have seen Ghostbusters. I will tell you, it's been a while. But I remember it's so funny. It was like it was one of my mom's favorite movies, and so I just remember this being like this period of like my mom showing me like a lot of her favorite movies from the 80s, and then us realizing like how inappropriate these movies were for me because I was very young. Ghostbusters probably being like the most appropriate of all the ones we watched. Like I remember her showing me like Police Academy.
I love that movie.
And then being like, I did not remember how dirty this movie is, like.
I feel like that's epically what being a child in the 80s and 90s was. Like, I feel like there was hardly any censorship. I mean, the very first movie I ever saw in a movie theater was Footloose, and I was probably like 5 years old. And yeah, parents in the 80s and 90s, they didn't care. There was a movie
really
to keep you occupied.
I remember seeing Pet Sematary when it came out. And I probably shouldn't have seen it at the age that I was, but I do recall like there was just a weird thing with the rating system with movies back in the 80s, where it seemed to be okay to have something be PG-13 when it was really should have been R-rated. And I remember seeing Ghostbusters, and it was kind of a frightening movie. It wasn't terrifying, but it was still, there were some scenes where it was for a kid to see it. And I was at maybe 5 or 6 when I saw that movie. I was like, yeah, that's kind of that's a little freaky. Arms coming out of the chair, just a lot of.
Yeah, Pet Sematary is totally creepy. But I did the same thing. I mean, I was in first grade and I watched Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, parents didn't. No one cared.
They sold Nightmare on Elm Street T-shirts inside of like Kmart's and Walmart's back then. That was the weirdest thing. They sold it in the kids section. So I remember. Seeing this at a Kmart, back in the day, a Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger T-shirt in the young boys section. It's like
that's really funny.
The marketing for like, why would you market that towards kids, especially when, not to get off on Ghostbusters, but Freddy Krueger, I mean, his whole story, definitely not somebody that should be around kids. So weird marketing strategy right there.
Oh, 80s, how I miss you.
No.
So I do have a fun fact here. I figured we can talk about the movie and then also kind of sprinkle in some information here. So you guys game for the first bit of info?
Yeah.
So ready. I'm ready.
So the Ghostbusters obviously is about paranormal activity, the supernatural. It just so happens to be that Dan Aykroyd's family, they're very much involved in the supernatural. He grew up in a farm in Ontario, Canada, where his family held regular seances for generations. This went as far back as Aykroyd's great-grandfather, who was a renowned spiritualist. The family regularly channeled souls from the other side. Aykroyd's father carried on the ghostly endeavors as he sought a way to contact the deceased through radio frequencies. Also, Aykroyd's father wrote a history of ghost stories. So the point is his whole family, I guess they're very much involved in spiritual activity. since he was a young child, which I guess is the reason why he decided to create Ghostbusters.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he was interested in the paranormal, but I didn't realize how deep it went with his family.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of a cool fact. And also, this is just something I'm going to read really quick. I didn't know this until recently, but John Belushi, which is his friend, they starred in The Blues Brothers. So John Belushi was originally supposed to be in the Ghostbusters. That obviously didn't work out. He unfortunately passed away back in, I believe, 1982 due to a drug overdose. So what they did was they made the character Slimer that you see in that movie. Slimer is actually based on John Belushi.
How fun.
Oh my gosh.
So he, it was obviously an exaggeration, but they were kind of poking fun at John Belushi, but in a lighthearted way. It was Dan Aykroyd's way of dealing with the death of his friend who was supposed to be in a movie. So he figured, well, I'm going to put him in a movie one way or another. And so he made him into the Slimer ghost.
I can totally see that too, like with his Animal House character, right? Like with all the food, and then you got Slimer eating all the food and kind of being like kind of gross, but like playful and silly, and yeah, that's really funny. I love that. That's a really fun fact. I read that Chevy Chase and Michael Keaton turned down the role of Peter Venkman, who was played by Bill Murray.
Kind of glad
could
they
you have
did.
seen them? Yeah, I was wondering, like, could you have seen either of them in that role?
I could have for that type of character. I think there are some similarities with personalities, but obviously Bill Murray just knocked it out of the ballpark. I mean, after seeing him, I don't think anyone else could have done it. But I think I get why they were looking at those two other actors for that particular role.
Yeah, I can see Chevy Chase more than
Michael Keaton.
More than Michael Keaton, yeah, right? Like, but I don't know. Yeah, once you get Bill Murray in there, it's like, who else are you going to get to do this? Like, he brings something so unique. Yeah,
well, Bill Murray brings like this aspect, and really so many of his characters, Groundhog Day and Caddyshack. He's sort of like, he's sort of cynical and narcissistic, but also funny and like loyal. You know what I mean? Like there's something like where Bill Murray's always he's like a likable character that always is sort of cynical and always seems like he's one-upping you, which is really what that character was. I mean, Chevy Chase has the physical humor, and he has like the kind of deadpan comedy delivery, and Michael Keaton kind of has a little bit more of that, I would say, like a little more of that sex appeal. But Bill Murray kind of can bring both of what those actors can bring into like one character. I love Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters. He's one of my favorite characters in it. I feel like he doesn't get as much credit for how hilarious he is, especially in the party scenes where and like when Sigourney Weaver is trying to ignore him. Like I do that when I lived in a condo in Midtown. Like whenever I'd walk up and down my hall and I'd hear my neighbors having a party, I'd be like so nervous that they would come out and see me, because like they would invite me and stuff, and I'd be like, I don't want to go. So I would literally reference that movie in my head every time I walked up and down my hall, like Sigourney Weaver being like tiptoeing, and then Rick Moranis coming out and being like, hey.
It's very relatable. And the great thing is most of the scenes with Rick Moranis, and actually most of the movie is improvised, but especially with Rick Moranis, the party scene where he's talking about his clients are coming over to his party, and he's introducing them, and each and every single time he introduces somebody, he's talking about how he helped them with their taxes, and they save so much money and this and that. A lot of that was improvised, so that just goes to show how talented a lot of these actors were, especially Rick Moranis. And fun fact about that character, Lewis, that he plays, originally it was going to be John Candy who auditioned for that role. But John Candy, I guess he had the character all wrong. He pitched this idea that he wanted to be like this German guy who had two dogs, and he had a strong German accent. And so Ivan Reitman was like, well, we've already got two dogs in the movie. I don't want four dogs. And that's
right, got the demon dogs.
Yeah, right. And that's just, it wasn't really the idea that he was going for. He wanted something where it was more of a nerdy character, and so he pitched it to Ivan Reitman. Spoke with Rick Moranis, and Rick was like, "Well, I'm glad that Candy messed that up. I'm glad to have the opportunity.
That's so funny. I wish there were like outtakes of John Candy like auditioning for that role. That would be so funny.
I think it would have been an interesting character. I think it would have been funny, but probably not. I mean, now that we've seen what Rick Moranis was able to do, I can't see anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he has great chemistry with Sigourney Weaver, in those scenes. Like I love their chemistry together. That's so funny.
Well, they had a lot of people they were thinking about, playing Peter Venkman before Bill Murray agreed to do so. But yes, I think he was originally one of the first people they contacted about it.
What an amazing year for movies. So in 1984, so I was 3. I was 3 years old. Matthew, were you even born yet?
I wasn't, but let's see, how old would my mom have been? That was a very seminal year for her because she was 20.
Oh my God.
I want to say 21. She just turned 21. So it was like, she's right there. So that's why these are all the movies that she showed me as soon as I was like old enough to like grasp them. Was that this is a quintessential year for films for
yeah. I've loved sharing all these movies with my nephews. I'm sure when I have kids, like I'll totally share all these movies with them, but that's been one of my favorite things about having nephews is like being able to share all these 80s movies that I loved as a kid with them. And they what's amazing is they still hold up. I mean, my nephews who are 7 and 11, like they still love these movies, and they watched Airplane recently and they thought it was so funny. And it's amazing how these movies have held up over the last 30 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Leslie Nielsen's amazing. I mean, that comedy, does it ever get old? It's just wry and fantastic. So many gems from the 80s that what a gift that you get to share this with your
I know. I can't wait to have. I hope I like my kid. If I don't like my kids, they're not watching any of these movies. But if I do like them, I will totally show them.
Hopefully you like them. If not, then I guess they don't get to watch any TV or any movies.
Yeah, I'll be like, go watch Star Trek. Go watch Star Trek with Matthew.
Oh no!
Well, we got to wrap this up here pretty soon, but I do think this is a great idea for a segment, and I like going back into talking about 80s and 90s movies. I think some of the best horror movies, especially, came from the 80s. But before we do leave, I want to play this quick sound clip from Ghostbusters and hear what you guys think. I'm sure this will kind of bring back some memories here for you. Here we go.
Could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr. Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Dogs and cats living together. That's my favorite line out of that whole.
Yeah.
It's going to be complete mayhem.
So you guys recall that's in the mayor's office towards the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love that scene, and I forget the name of the character, the guy who's on their case, and he's trying to shut them down, and so he goes in the office with them, and Bill Murray, again, he's improvising most of this whole scene, but he talks about how the guy doesn't have a dick, or he's dickless or something, and I just thought that was hilarious, and that was improvised completely. He just decided, I'm just gonna, that's what I'm gonna say, and he went for it.
So fun. I love it. So much talent. But this was a fun Minisode. I had a great time chatting about Ghostbusters. I think that our fans will love hearing about it. How should we end kind of this segment, if you will?
Yeah, no, I think, we'll just talk about really quick. So Ghostbusters Afterlife is coming out March 5th. It's directed by Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman. So I think it's kind of cool that, they're keeping it in the family. And it kind of, from the trailers, it looks like it's a combination of Goonies and Ghostbusters. So it's kids that are it's a reboot and it's kids. And I think it'll be interesting. I definitely am getting some Stranger Things kind of vibes from it, which ironically they happen to have one of the stars of Stranger Things is in the movie. So I think that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'm looking forward to our next segment when we can talk about some more 80s movies.
Oh, for sure. And then maybe, after Afterlife comes out, we should do a segment talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, we can do the same thing when Jurassic Park World Dominion comes out. Like, talk about it, like a follow-up.
we can do this for a while. So this is a fun segment, and it's been this is our first mini episode, and I think it went really well. So thank you guys, and thank everyone, everybody for listening. Thank you for doing that too.
We love you guys.
Thanks for listening, and
to our Minisode.
for listening to our Minisode, especially if you're in Minnesota. This was super fun, and we look forward to bringing you a new 80s movie flashback on another Minisode.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.